are new to the chats, this is a 1 hour long chat. The first half, we go over whatever the topic was for the previous week with Weight Watchers, and in the second half, we do something fun. We're on a limited availability of things to do, you know, a limited availability of things to do since we are shutting down the food department here at the loft before we move over closer to the girls. But if you're new, I usually put on an apron at the halfway point so that if you only want to go back and watch the second half, you will know when the apron hits. But it's also time for you all to get a drink of water. Yeah, Barbara says, please drink your water. She can tell I'm getting parched. So I actually have some hot tea for my water tonight. But this is the only time in the week that I know that y'all drink water. So everybody go ahead and get a sip. The weather has been fantastic, but all that leaf raking has me just a little today. And you know, Alyssa calls that the hems. And I love some good hot tea anyway. Okay, this is the second half of chat number 340. And we've been talking about crushing cravings, but since we have limited availability here in the loft, because we've already started packing to get ready to move, I wanted to talk again about sodium. So Casey and I had a lengthy conversation yesterday about sodium, weight loss, how it affects weight loss, what happens when you have extra sodium, about my parents, just the effects, you know, of sodium on your body. So the FDA recommends that you have 2,300 milligrams, that you have no more than 2,300 milligrams of sodium per day. And if you are 14 years of age or younger, which none of us are, but 14 years of age or younger, it's even less than that. But most of us, the average American, exceeds 3,500 milligrams of sodium every single day. Okay, my parents both had illnesses later in life that were complicated with sodium, with extra sodium. So if they had too much sodium, it complicated the diseases that they both had, and they both passed away from things that were complicated, you know, from complications from sodium. And Vicky, he's doing pretty well. Thank you very much for asking. Yeah, Vicky asked how Casey's husband was doing on his new lifestyle. Pretty well. I mean, obviously he's not, none of us are perfect. He's going to have good days and bad days, but he's making some much better decisions. So we're really proud of him. Salt, a misnomer about salt, or a mistruth about salt, is that it makes you gain weight. So salt itself doesn't make you gain weight. So a weight gain is something that you know, it's actual weight. So it is either fat or muscle that is going to hang around for, you know, for a little while, would be an actual weight gain. But people who add or use salt often are sometimes eating are at an eating risk for obesity or habits that would make you, like eating habits that would make you tend to be more obese. So salt gets blamed a lot for actual weight gain. It can cause a temporary weight gain, which is usually, not always, which is usually corrected flushing through with some water or something else. We've got a lot of chats about or not a lot of chats, we have several other chats about the, like the actual, I mean, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, but I just like to dabble in these things. You know, usually you can get rid of that excess weight from sodium by drinking a lot of water, reestablishing those, kind of those levels in your body, eating a lot of fruits or vegetables that contain water. A lot of times that can flush that extra sodium, out of your body, and to help you kind of get rid of that temporary. But salt itself it's not going to cause extra fat. It's certainly not going to cause any muscle. So it's not an actual weight gain. There are always going to be people with extenuating circumstances. My dad was on dialysis, so too much sodium, or he couldn't have potassium, or some of the things were really, really restricted, because that would make him retain an abnormally huge amount of water that he couldn't process himself. So just know I'm not trying to play it off like it's just temporary weight gain, because for some people it can be too much sodium, and too little sodium can also be a factor. So I also want to say that sodium and salt are not technically the same thing nutritionally speaking. Sodium actually refers to an essential mineral, and it's a component of sodium chloride. It does play an essential role in the functions that keep your body fluids balanced. So, again, I'm not going to go into all the technicality of it, but all of the systems in your body they have fluids that pass across membranes in your body, across cell membranes and other things, and one side is positive, one side is negative, and those ions, a lot of minerals and things have to cross back and forth across those. Having a certain level of sodium in your system keeps all of those things functioning. So too little sodium can cause issues. Too much sodium can also cause issues. It can cause things to not travel like they're supposed to back and forth across those membranes. Table salt is 40% sodium, and it's by weight, and it's 60% chloride. So the sodium that's in table salt, like what we call salt, is usually table salt. While that sodium acts in the same way as the naturally occurring sodium. Most of the sodium that is consumed as salt or table salt is taken in from either packaged or processed foods, restaurants adding sodium. Not as much of it is added, from what's added at your table, unless you're a heavy salter. I do know people, I know several people that salt their food and then taste it. I'm a really big fan of tasting your food before you salt it. I don't know if you've ever watched any cooking shows on TV, but usually if they're using actual salt to enhance the flavor of anything, they usually take just a pinch of salt, and they're spreading it over a fairly large volume of food, like it's the whole recipe. So usually it's a pinch, and they're going over the whole recipe. Okay, that's not the amount of sodium that we're talking about. We're talking about a guy that used to work for me who there's no chance that he's watching this, so I'll go ahead and talk about him. He would literally get Chick-fil-A, which is already salty. He would get Chick-fil-A to bring him extra little salt packets, and I bet he used 15 to 20 little salt packets on the Chick-fil-A that was already salted. That's a lot of salt. So remember a few minutes ago I said 2,300 milligrams of sodium is the recommended daily allowance to stay under that amount, and some people are at 3,500, or like a lot of people are eating at 3,500 or above. I promise you, this guy was at like 5,000, or above. So consuming salt, though, from prepackaged foods, processed foods, or from restaurants, instead of what you're putting into your recipes or what you're adding to your food, you need to be aware, though, that is kind of a precursor to eating foods that are higher in fat, that are higher in some of the other things that make the points go up. That also make it more, fat-laden, calorie-laden. Usually salt comes kind of, not always, but sometimes it comes hand in hand with those things. So too much sodium can cause just as many issues as not having enough sodium. But for the purposes of this discussion, we're talking about sodium and temporary weight gain in the form of water retention. So I'm gonna back off a little bit because I've accidentally gone down this medical rabbit hole that I'm not qualified to go down. But we're talking about sodium and temporary weight gain in the form of water retention. What Casey and I were discussing is that can lead to a disappointment at the scale. Like if you have a temporary weight gain, like if you ate pickles before, like the day before weigh-in, you might get a disappointment at the scale, thinking, oh, I gained weight. That could be totally temporary from that additional sodium. Casey had a couple of pretty sodium laden meals this week, just from who she was having to eat with, and she did a good job of keeping an eye on what she was eating. But both of them were pretty high in sodium, and so shed a little bit of a disappointment at the scale, that's temporary. It's temporary. It's water, but it's hard to talk yourself off of that cliff when you go, what? That's not what I was expecting at the scale. It can have a reduction. It can cause a reduction in feelings of accomplishment. Like if you think you're doing great this week and then you don't get what you want at the scale, or if you're feeling sluggish, or if you're feeling bloated or whatever, it can cause discomfort. So having too much sodium, can cause all those things, which again, it doesn't necessarily lead to weight gain, but it can lead to, things that go along with that lifestyle, that can lead to weight gain. Okay. So that was a lot of mumbo jumbo to get to this. We're going to go over some secret ways that sodium get into your diet, or some surprising ways that sodium get into your diet. So while I take another sip of my tea, what do you all think of anything that you eat? What do you all think? Like what's something that you think of that you think that's got, now I'm not talking about adding sodium, not if you took a salt shaker and added it to it, but what's something that you think that you eat that you're like, yeah, that's got a lot of sodium in it. So y'all just call out a couple of things while I'm getting a sip of tea. Sylvia says soda. I would agree. Sarah says she tries to look at nutrition labels for high in sodium as well, and it's so scary when it's over or near 1,000 milligrams. That's insane. Carol Lou says lunch or deli meat. Yep, exactly right. Irma says everything frozen. I would say a lot of things that are frozen, but I don't know about everything frozen. Lynn says soy sauce, definitely. Debbie says cheese. Yes, some kinds of cheese do have a lot of sodium in them. Sylvia says boxed foods. A lot of boxed foods do. You need to look at them. Jonna says chicken noodle soup. Yep. Barbara says instant soup, and Vicki says canned meat, and Haley says any frozen meals. So not all of them do. And Julie, I'll have to check that out with ice cream. Oh my goodness, wait. Deborah says liquid IV drink at Costco has 500 milligrams per pack. And Sarah says canned anything. Okay, y'all are going to have a test here. So because you all, and there's Melissa, because you all are so smart and you're proving it right now, we're going to have a test, and y'all are going to tell me, y'all are going to kind of put these in order of what has the most sodium to what has the least amount of sodium, or maybe we'll do least to most. Okay, so here are a few things we've got, and again, I wrote all of these backwards, so hopefully they all, yeah, and obviously I ran out of room on that one. And yes, it is a pop quiz, Sarah. Okay, 2 ketchup packets. So that's one thing. A quarter of a teaspoon. And if y'all want to get something to write with, you totally can. A quarter of a teaspoon of some kind of popcorn seasoning. And I kind of, yeah, that A got kind of awry when I was writing it backwards. I heard somebody mention this earlier. Excuse me, 1 teaspoon of pink Himalayan sea salt, pink sea salt. And that one looks pretty good, and thank you, Sarah. So that's 1 teaspoon of pink, not regular Morton table salt. This is pink Himalayan sea salt. I saw somebody mention olives a second ago. 7 olives. Does that actually say olives? Oh, it does. 7 olives. That's a serving. That's why I picked 7. 2 ounces of light Spam. And no, I'm not eating that. Okay, 2 ounces of light Spam. 1 teaspoon of Bragg liquid aminos, and you all know I much prefer these over soy sauce. So Lynn mentioned soy sauce a second ago. I much prefer Bragg liquid aminos over soy sauce because this also has 18 amino acids. It is made from non-GMO verified soybeans, original formula. It's got, again, 18 different amino acids. It's a soy protein season, and you use it as a soy sauce alternative. So that would be 1 teaspoon of liquid aminos. This is a can of tuna, and this is just tuna in water. And yep, so far all of the letters are facing the correct direction. So this is literally just a can of just tuna. It is chunk light tuna, in water. Oh, and it's wild caught chunk light tuna in water. This is my other favorite. Nutritional yeast. This is Bragg nutritional yeast. Uh-oh, and I see a backwards letter. That E is not going the right direction. Oh well, I tried. Okay, so this would be 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, and it's not nut yeast. I just couldn't write out nutritional backwards, okay? So 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, and y'all know how I love nutritional yeast, and yes, there are chats for that if you need to go back and see what that's for, but it is, it's a great, nutritional yeast is a great source of nutrition. That's why it's called nutritional yeast, and no, it's not the same as brewer's yeast or baker's yeast, but yeah, so that's 2 tablespoons of that. Two turkey sticks, and these are they're old Wisconsin turkey sausage sticks, handcrafted, naturally slow smoked, good source of protein, gluten-free, blah blah blah. So 2 turkey sticks. One bag of plain chips. So this is a 1-ounce bag of Lay's Classic. This will be going in Alyssa's lunch on Tuesday. I will not be eating these, but this is just it's a 1-ounce bag of plain Lay's potato chips. Let's see if I can get all this up here. A half a cup of just black beans. So these are just La Preferida, just regular black beans. These are not, yes, they are your Lay's. This is not, they're not seasoned or anything else. They're just plain old black beans. A half of a cup of black beans, and all those letters, yeah, all those letters are together. Okay, a half a cup of black beans. And last but not least, 1 bottle of G-Fit. And G-Fit is just Gatorade, but it's Gatorade that has no added sugar, no artificial sweeteners or flavors, no added colors, excellent source of vitamins A and C, and 1 bottle is the serving. So that's 1 bottle of G-Fit. Okay, you all have about 10 minutes. John is up now. I heard him just take Dusty out. So you all have about 10 minutes, because we need to wrap it up just a couple of minutes early. What do you think out of all of this? What do you think out of all of this has the most sodium? Has the most, and I'm going to put it back over here. So tell me what has the most sodium out of everything that I listed. And our choices are a 1-ounce bag of Lay's, a can of tuna, 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, 2 turkey snack sticks, a teaspoon of Bragg liquid aminos, 2 ounces of light Spam, 7 olives, a teaspoon of pink Himalayan sea salt, 1/4 of a teaspoon of popcorn seasoning, 2 ketchup packets, the G-Fit, or the black beans. Okay, let's see. Sylvia says, okay, wait, so we're doing the most right now. So we're doing the most. Okay, so we've got 1 vote for G-Fit. We've got 1 vote for the tuna. We've got 1 vote for the pink Himalayan sea salt. Melissa says the meat sticks, which are right here. Okay, and olives. Got a couple of votes for olives. Okay, so out of those, which ones do you all think are the most? So we've got, oh wait, I think Lynn said the Spam. So we're going to move that Spam over here and that'll be it. Okay, so out of those, out of the Spam, the G-Fit, the can of tuna and water, the pink Himalayan sea salt, 2 turkey sticks, and 7 olives. Out of those, which one do you all think has the most sodium? Oh, and Mary said ketchup. Okay, so Sarah says sea salt. So I'm going to move it over here. Somebody said olives, G-Fit, olives, the G-Fit, G-Fit, turkey sticks, Spam and olives. Okay, so we're going to rearrange it like this. Okay, so I think that's the order. I think that's the order that you all have it in now. Okay, so I'm going to say, because I can see what the milligrams of sodium are, so nobody's going to pick the potato chips. I really thought that everybody would pick, I thought everybody would pick the potato chips. So nobody thinks that the potato chips is in that top, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So nobody thinks the potato chips are in the top 6. We have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, exactly 12. Sarah said she almost did. Okay, so I will tell you, out of this group that we have back here, the pink Himalayan sea salt is the same. So I heard several of you all say, in the chat said that pink Himalayan sea salt is better for you. Yeah, but I didn't have any soup. Vicki said soup should be. I didn't put out soup. Remember, Vicki, I can only pick from things that I already had here since we're packing up. But I had a couple of you all said that the pink Himalayan sea salt is better for you. I guess it is, and that's what I buy. I don't buy regular iodized table salt. Pink Himalayan sea salt, 1 teaspoon. So this is a teaspoon. That is the tiniest little amount. So remember when I said if you watch any cooking shows and they just get a pinch and they sprinkle it around? This is 1 teaspoon. That guy that used to work for me that I was talking about, he was probably putting 4 of those on his food. 1,680 milligrams. So there's 1,680 milligrams of sodium in 1 teaspoon of sea salt. Okay, next in this group, and let me look at them. Is next in this group, and let me make sure that this is still one of the highest, is the Spam. 2 ounces of light Spam is 580 milligrams of sodium. I kind of expected that because it's processed and it's in a can and it's lunch meat, but it's 580 milligrams of sodium. So the Spam is going to be number 2. Number 3 is, I think, and I'm checking all of these, number 3 is going to be the black beans. Number 3 is the black beans. A half a cup of black beans, no seasoning. The ingredients in this is black beans, water, and that they do have salt in them, 400 milligrams. So black beans is going to be next, and that is 400 milligrams of salt in the black beans. After that, let me just make sure. Okay, the next one after that is going to be the olives. So those of you who said olives, 330 milligrams for 7 olives. So olives are not bad for you. They're not bad for you at all. They're not bad for you at all. But, you know, if you had 7 olives the day before weigh-in, like if you had made yourself a little tiny charcuterie plate, you could totally keep it within points. You could be doing, you know, great. But just remember, day before weigh-in, or if you had a lot of other salty things, like if you did the turkey sticks in this or something, you know, I mean, that could add up. It could just add up to a temporary weight gain. So that's 330 milligrams for the olives. Next, after the olives, is it going to be the turkey sticks? No, it's not going to be the turkey sticks. Is it going to be the G-Fit? No. Next is going to be the Bragg Liquid Aminos. So even as much as I love Bragg Liquid Aminos, 310 milligrams of sodium, and that is for the tiniest little amount of that, but my gosh, it's good. Next is going to be tuna. This literally has 270 milligrams of sodium in it, and it is tuna, water, vegetables, something, carrots, and salt. So just a regular can of tuna has 270 milligrams of sodium. 0 points, 270 milligrams of sodium. Just keep that in mind. So that one is next. Then next is another 270. So 2 tablespoons of Bragg nutritional yeast, which I love, 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 love. You know, and I just have to keep in mind 270 milligrams of sodium. So we still haven't even made it to the chips yet, okay? The chips are so far down on the list. The next one after that is the G-Fit. So G-Fit, that's part of what what do you call this, like replenishment beverage or whatever. That's part of what that's for, is to get those electrolytes back into your body from where you've been exercising. But if you're just drinking things like G-Fit just to be drinking them, 230 milligrams of sodium. So that one's going to be next. 230. Then the turkey sticks. So the turkey sticks are even after the G-Fit. The 2 turkey sticks is 220 milligrams of sodium. Next on the list, 2 packets of ketchup. 2 ketchup packets, 190 milligrams. Who would have thought that 2 packets of ketchup, of regular ketchup, would have 190 milligrams of sodium? So the salty fries that we're already putting them on, adding ketchup adds 190, just 2 packets, and I use way more than 2 packets, is 190 milligrams of sodium. Next after that, is it going to be the chips or the popcorn seasoning? Chips or popcorn seasoning? Oh man, and I've already made it to almost 9 o'clock. Okay, finally the chips, but they're the next to the last. So this entire group, so Vicky says, so they're healthier, they're less sodium. That doesn't mean that they're healthier. If you're just watching your sodium, then yes. And yes, and Melissa's right, ketchup also has a lot of sugar. G. Hughes does not though, but that's a whole nother subject. The chips are the next to the last, 170 milligrams of salt. And then the popcorn seasoning, this little cheesy jalapeno kernel seasonings, is 95 milligrams of sodium. Okay, so I hope you all learned something. It's always an eye-opener for me. Oh, and Debbie makes her own ketchup because of the sugar, the salt, and because of the cost of good ketchup. So she just goes ahead and makes her own. You'll have to tell us how to do that later. But anyway, I hope that was an eye-opener for you all. It always is for me when I think about it. And yeah, so again, last chat in the loft. Look, take one more look. One more look. It's not like y'all can't come back and watch chats from from before to see that, but that's the last live one from here. Have so enjoyed it from here. Again, this is not it for the chats. This is just it for the chats, live here from the loft. So everybody say goodbye to the campers. Maybe they will make an appearance again somewhere else later. Yeah, Mary says bye-bye, loft. But you all have a great week. If you're watching this on YouTube, please go ahead and let that next video roll over. That's just youtube.com. Search If You Have an Egg. Let that next video roll over, and please go ahead and click that button so that you will be subscribed and you'll know when our next video comes up. But I hope y'all had a great week, and I'll see you not from the loft. I'll see you next time. Have a great week. Good night, everybody.